An exhibition of the paintings of Scottish artist William Dennis was held at the Studio and Gallery in Kilbirnie, April 7th to the 28th, 2018. Willie Dennis was born in Glasgow, relocated to Australia for some years, but now lives in Ayrshire. He creates his figurative paintings in acrylics and some in oils. He is often drawn to work with mythological ideas and also explores various themes through surrealism. Almost all the works in the exhibition were created since his returning to Scotland. In the entrance area, we hung 4 related paintings on mythological themes. Here, the Myth of Salami, the beheading of John the Baptist, Artante, the concubine of Xerxes, and the biblical temptation. Willie depicts Salome, the daughter of Herodias, at her bath. The name Salome was invented in the 19th century by the playwright Gustave Flaubert, and a few years later was adopted by Oscar Wilde in his famous play in the early 1890s. Here we have John the Baptist's head, with God above, shocked at the murder. Salome and her mother are depicted as creatures with cloven hooves. Willie explained his painting of the poor soul Artante. She was the wife of the brother of Persian King Xerxes, but Xerxes took her as her lover. When Xerxes' wife found out, she had her ears, her nose, and her lips sliced off, and her tongue cut out. To the left is Thoth as the ibis. It's just a little episode out of history. She is painted in a humble way. She is looking for mercy, but she's not going to get any. He works both in full colour and in a restricted grayscale palette, using these distinct styles to handle different themes. This painting is based on the story of the Scottish Selkie, who shed her skin and went to live on the dry land with a farmer or fisherman, but eventually has to return to the sea. The painting attempts to depict what the Selkie was dreaming about while she was living with the man. We see the depths of the water and all the sea creatures and the wild happenings in this other mythological place. Dennis likes to interweave forms so that one form seems to suggest another. So there's a lot of discovery during his process of painting. At the beginning, he had the idea of the girl's face that to him suited the Selkie story. The details, such as the sea lions, emerge much later during the creation of the painting. The next painting along this wall is Water Nymphs with Otters. Here, Willie Dennis creates sinuous flowing forms to suggest the underwater scene. This powerful and yet engaging painting is entitled Dark Intent. Dennis had already painted something similar when he was in Australia, with a black panther's head in the lower right. The crows keep the dove of the spirit away from interfering in the kill. The horse has no chance of escape. The crow at the top right looks out at the viewer, saying, "I'm in charge here and I'm waiting for the pickings." He drew some of the imagery from a George Stubbs painting, Horse Attacked by a Lion, of 1769. imminent demise of an innocent vampire, one of his surrealistic grayscale paintings, presents us with a masked figure on the lower right, armed with a stake, whose heart is protected by a metal plate, creeping up behind the vampire in order to impale him. We see the imaginations of this vampire emerging from his head. Various animal, bat, and bird forms metamorphose one into another, interweaving darkness and light. Willie Dennis has a considerable interest in Japanese culture, as we see in these 4 paintings: Japanese night garden, Japanese masks, geisha girl, and geisha girl with parasol. The 3 paintings on the back wall are from his surrealistic Floating Man series. The first, Angels Departing Jigging Madman, is a self-portrait. Dennis states, "I am the jigging madman. I am trapped. There is no help. Even the angels have given up on me and are escaping through the walls." It's interesting that he chose a perspective from high up in one corner, looking down on the scene.
Well, this painting I saw was from a book, back of a book. It was a perspective that caught my attention first of all. I wanted to put my daughter in it, Gillian, my grandson, and I've painted his face in a sort of a split way because he has a split personality, I felt at that time. And he was himself confused about things that were going on in his life. He was actually moving from one house to another at the time. So I thought he's the perfect example of a floating man. And I put Gillian in as obviously not his wife because this is her nephew. There's a perspective, the tonal values caught me, and the actual steps going down to this well lit area here, it was in the angle of the door, I thought was exceptionally good. At one point I thought I was going to paint a real surrealistic skeleton's foot at the side here, as if he was going to run and head out the window, caught in the act, but I just let that one go. This is the second time I've painted this. I painted a little 6x8 inch example of this for the 6x8 exhibition in Troon, and I think it went for about £100. That was through the art class in Kilmarnock College, and it was sold right away. I did a following exam, another one the following year for Kilmarnock College, and that went too. But I love the way these lines went down down into the lit area.
In Wrong Number, Dennis has relocated a scene from an old movie into a setting with a background of Glasgow tenements. The floating man, while moving away to the left, turns his attention to an empty, old-style telephone box. In this homage to one of the founders of surrealism, this is not René Magritte's mouth smoking a pipe, holding up an umbrella. Willie Dennis brings together a number of Magritte's stock images. Killing Butterflies is Dennis's response to the many accounts of sexual abuse in various religious institutions. Here, the innocent child, seen as a butterfly, having been abused, ends up having her life ruined. The light-filled angelic image of the butterfly becomes pushed down through abuse into demonic dark moths. Above the scene, a churchman lifts his finger, wanting us to stay silent and have this horror remain secret. Willie was surprised to find that this painting was rejected as being too controversial when he entered it into a group show a few years ago. This painting, Mind Games, had its inception with a decorative mirror his daughter had bought, which he saw as a sort of crown. Willie Dennis then began to explore visually all sorts of elements that he imagined flowing through her mind. We see her heart surrounded by various angels and struggling with more monstrous figures. The elephant, with a beach scene inside its body, reflects her love of holidays in far-off places. He also worked in various articles of jewellery, such as the dragonfly brooch. He turned again to his critique of the influence of the church in depicting the little figure of the child Pope wearing a garter, reading the Bible, and riding on a monster.
Now this was taken from a photograph of my granddaughter and sleeping in the baby chair in the car. At the time she had long flowing curly hair, but I wiped that out to get this type of effect, and my hands holding her. Originally there was an angel's face in this section here, and I decided to make it into a metamorphosing type painting. We have falling angels here, and the good and bad angels up at the top to represent what she would be going through in her future life, choices, etc. Basically that's about it in this one. There's vultures at the bottom waiting for the carnage, and the metamorphosing eye fish going up, changing into a bird, and then coming back down into the swans. And basically that was imagination, just pure imagination.
Willie Dennis has a considerable knowledge of art history, and we can see how this informs his painting. He admired the work of the late 19th, early 20th century English artist Joseph Crawhill, known for his paintings of birds and animals, some of which are in the Burrell collection in Glasgow. Dennis's painting is a kind of homage to Crawhill's style.